The sky turned black that Tuesday morning, not with clouds but with ships. Thousands of them, stretching from horizon to horizon like a metal ceiling closing over the world. People stopped on sidewalks, cars halted mid-traffic, and everyone just stared up. The Galactic Concilium had arrived, and they brought enough firepower to crack the planet in half. Nobody panicked at first. Earth had dragons. For 3,000 years they'd been humanity's guardians, their friends, their teachers. Dragons who could bend reality itself, who could fly between stars, who had shown humans wonders beyond imagination. Surely the dragons would protect them. Surely everything would be okay. It wasn't okay. The message came through every screen, every speaker, every device on the planet simultaneously. The Concilium's voice was cold, mechanical, translated into 1,000 languages at once. Their demand was simple: give us the dragons or we burn your world to ash. You have 72 hours. The Dragon Council met in the ancient chamber beneath the Rockies, a place carved from living stone 3 millennia ago. 27 dragons, the eldest and wisest of their kind, gathered in their true forms. Their scales caught the light like jewels, their eyes held the weight of centuries. Elder Mordeth, whose bronze scales had seen the rise and fall of human empires, spoke first. They will not negotiate. They will not show mercy. We have 3 choices: fight and watch humanity die in the crossfire, surrender ourselves to whatever fate they have planned, or leave. A younger dragon named Sereth, barely 400 years old with scales like burnished copper, stood. We cannot abandon them. We promise to stand with humanity. Mordeth's ancient eyes held infinite sadness. And if we stay, there will be no humanity left to stand with. Their weapons can shatter continents. Our power, as great as it is, cannot shield an entire world. The math is simple and cruel. The debate raged for hours. Some dragons wanted to fight anyway, to go down in glorious battle. Others argued for surrender, hoping to spare Earth. But Mordeth's logic was unassailable. The Concilium had brought a war fleet that could sterilize the planet. Earth's military, for all its advancement, might as well have been throwing rocks at a hurricane. The vote came. 26 dragons chose Exodus, to flee beyond the known universe where even the Concilium could not follow. They would use the ancient pathways, fold space itself, and vanish into the great dark between galaxies. Humanity would be left defenseless but alive. It was the only way to save them. Only Sereth voted no. I cannot leave, she said quietly. I am bonded to a child. Her name is Lily Mitchell. She has a disease in her blood, one your human doctors cannot cure. Every week, I treat her with dragon fire, carefully applied, burning away the sickness without burning her. Without me she has 3 months. Maybe 4. Mordeth closed his eyes. One child, Sereth. One child against billions. One child who trusts me, Sereth replied. One child I promised I would never leave. If we abandon our promises, what are we? There was no anger in the council's silence, only grief. They understood. The bond between a dragon and a human was sacred, built on trust and time. But understanding didn't change the mathematics of survival. You will die, Mordeth said simply. The Concilium will find you eventually. They have dragon hunters, inquisitors who specialize in tracking our kind. You will die, and the child will die anyway. Sereth spread her wings, copper scales catching the chamber's light. Then I will die keeping my promise. That is my choice. The exodus happened at sunset. Dragons rose from every corner of the world, their scales blazing with colors beyond human description. They gathered in the sky above the Pacific, forming a spiral of ancient power that made the air itself sing. Humans came out of their homes, filling streets and rooftops, watching their oldest friends prepare to leave. Some people cried. Some screamed for the dragons to stay and fight. Most just watched in numb silence, understanding but hating the choice that had been forced upon them. The dragons began to fold space, reality bending around them like cloth. Light that wasn't quite light wrapped around their forms. Mordeth's voice echoed across the world one final time, speaking in every language to every human heart. Forgive us. What? Grow strong. We will remember you always. Then they were gone. Just gone. The sky was empty except for the Concilium's fleet, and humanity was alone. In a small apartment in New Seattle, a bronze-haired woman sat beside an 8-year-old girl's bed. Lily was crying softly, having watched the exodus on her mother's tablet. They all left, Lily whispered. Everyone left. Sereth, wearing her human form, took the child's small hand in hers. She could feel her own scales beneath the illusion of human skin, could feel the weight of being the last dragon on Earth. Not everyone, she said gently. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. Outside, the Concilium ships began their descent. The occupation of Earth had begun. 6 months under Concilium rule had turned Earth into something unrecognizable. The great city still stood, but they felt hollow now, like empty shells where life used to be. Giant extraction machines dug into the Earth day and night, pulling out minerals and resources that got shipped to the stars. Humans were allowed to exist, but barely. Work camps, controlled zones, ration lines that stretched for blocks. Freedom had become a memory. The Concilium soldiers walked the streets in their sleek armor, faces hidden behind reflective masks. They didn't speak to humans unless giving orders. To them, Earth was just another conquered world, humanity just another primitive species to be used and forgotten. But humanity hadn't forgotten how to fight. Resistance cells sprouted like weeds through cracked concrete, small and scattered but determined. One of the largest operated out of the old subway tunnels beneath New Seattle, a maze of abandoned passages where Concilium scanners couldn't quite reach. Dr. Kate Mitchell led this particular cell, 37 people who refused to accept their new reality. Kate had been a bioweapons researcher before the invasion, back when Earth still had a military worth the name. Now she spent her days forging ration cards and planning small acts of sabotage. It wasn't much, but it was something. Her daughter Lily lived in the tunnels too, along with Sareth. The dragon hadn't assumed her true form in half a year, hadn't spread her wings or felt the wind under her scales. She stayed human-shaped, bronze-flecked eyes, the only hint of what she really was. Too dangerous to be anything else. The Concilium had sensors everywhere, always scanning, always hunting. Every Tuesday night, in a sealed room 3 levels down, Sareth treated Lily. The girl would lie on an old medical cot while Sareth let just a tiny bit of dragon fire dance across her fingertips, pressing them to Lily's chest. The fire would sink in, burning away the disease that wanted to kill her, carefully controlled so it didn't burn the child herself. It took immense concentration. One slip, one moment of lost control and Lily would die. And the fire's energy signature could be detected if Sareth used too much. So she used the bare minimum, threading a needle in the dark, keeping the girl she'd promised to protect alive one more week. "Does it hurt?" Lily asked during one treatment, watching the golden fire sink into her skin. "No, little one," Sareth said softly. "Does it hurt you?" "It tingles. Like drinking something fizzy." Lily smiled, then her face got serious. "Mama says they're looking for you. Says there's a special hunter coming." Sareth had heard the same rumors. An inquisitor, they called him. Talvik the Relentless. He'd hunted dragons on 17 worlds, never failed to find his prey. The Concilium had brought him to Earth specifically because they suspected one dragon remained. "Let them look," Sareth said with more confidence than she felt. "I'm very good at hiding." She wasn't good enough. The raid came on a Thursday, sudden and brutal. Concilium soldiers hit 3 resistance cells simultaneously, like they'd been given a map. Kate's cell almost got caught, barely escaping through a collapsed tunnel that the soldiers were too big to follow through. They lost 12 people anyway, taken in the chaos. Worse, the Inquisitor had set a trap in one of the raids. A dozen humans tied up in the street, scheduled for execution at dawn. Public displays were his specialty, terrorism designed to break the spirit of resistance. Kate's people watched through stolen cameras as Talvik himself oversaw the preparations, his armor darker than the others, marked with symbols that humans didn't have words for. "We can't help them," Kate said, her voice breaking. "If we go, we all die. Those soldiers have dragon killer weapons now. Energy disruptors that would tear Sareth apart." But Sareth was already standing, already moving toward the tunnel exit. "I didn't stay on Earth to hide while humans die. You'll expose yourself. He'll have scanners running, energy detectors. The moment you use any real power, he'll know exactly where you are." "I know." Kate grabbed her arm. "Lily needs you. You die out there, my daughter dies in 3 months." Sareth met her eyes, and for just a moment, Kate saw the ancient being behind the human disguise. Something vast and terrible and kind all at once. "If I let 12 people die to save one, what kind of promise did I really keep? What would I be teaching Lily about the value of life?" She was gone before Kate could argue further, slipping into the pre-dawn darkness like a ghost. The execution square was lit by harsh Concilium lights, the kind that bleached all color from the world. 12 humans knelt in a line, hands bound, while Talvik's soldiers aimed their weapons. A crowd had been forced to watch, hundreds of humans held in place by soldiers, made to witness their own helplessness. Talvik stood at the center, tall and armored, and began to speak through translators about the price of resistance. He never finished his speech. Sareth hit the square like a meteor, moving faster than human eyes could track. She didn't have time for subtlety, didn't have time for anything but raw desperate speed. She grabbed the first prisoner and threw them toward the crowd, grabbed the second, the third. Dragon strength in human form, burning through her reserves, knowing every second was borrowed time. The soldiers opened fire. Sareth dodged, twisted, felt energy bolts sear past her face. She got 7 people clear. 9. Then Talvik moved, faster than any human could, and his blade was at her throat. "There you are," he said softly. Sareth kicked him hard enough to dent his armor, grabbed the last 3 prisoners and ran. She didn't fight, didn't try to win. Just ran, getting them to safety, feeling Talvik's scanners lock onto her energy signature. She'd save them all. Every single one. And now Talvik knew exactly what her energy felt like. He could track her anywhere on the planet. It was only a matter of time. Back in the tunnels, Kate was waiting with a look that was equal parts pride and terror. "You beautiful idiot. He has you now." "I know," Sareth said, breathing hard, her human disguise flickering at the edges. "How long do we have?" Kate pulled up stolen Concilium data on a cracked tablet. "His triangulation equipment is precise. Maybe 72 hours before he pinpoints this location." "And Lily's next treatment?" 48 hours. They looked at each other in the dim tunnel light, both understanding what that meant. Sareth would have to do the treatment, which would give off more energy signals. Talvik would be monitoring, analyzing, getting closer. The net was closing. And somewhere in the tunnels, Lily slept peacefully, unaware that the dragon who'd promised to never leave her was running out of time to keep that promise. They moved to the old university, a sprawling campus that had been abandoned since the invasion. Most of the buildings were half collapsed, making them dangerous but also harder for Concilium scanners to read properly. Kate's cell set up in the basement of what used to be the science building, surrounded by broken lab equipment and dusty textbooks that nobody would ever read again. 40 hours until Lily's treatment. 56 hours until Talvik found them. Sareth spent most of that time in meditation, conserving her strength, preparing for what might be her final stand. She'd accepted the mathematics. She couldn't run forever. Couldn't hide forever. When Talvik came, she would fight and she would probably die. The only question was how many humans she could save before the end. Kate found her on the second night, sitting alone in a classroom where moonlight streamed through broken windows. The doctor looked like she hadn't slept in days, her eyes red-rimmed but burning with something fierce. "I need to tell you something," Kate said. "Something the dragons never knew." Sareth turned, reading the weight in those words. "Go on." Kate sat down heavily, pulling out a tablet that she'd been carrying everywhere lately. "You know how humans learned from dragons, right? 3,000 years of friendship, of teaching, of sharing knowledge. You thought we were good students. You were exceptional students. We were more than students, Sareth. We were thieves." Kate's laugh was bitter. "Humanity didn't just learn from dragons. We studied you. Analyzed you. For the last 800 years, we've been reverse engineering dragon biology, trying to understand what makes you what you are." Sareth felt something cold settle in her chest. "Why?" "Because that's what humans do. We see something impossible and we take it apart until it makes sense. We see someone flying and we build airplanes. We see dragon fire and we figure out fusion reactors. We don't just accept miracles, we dissect them." Kate pulled up files on her tablet, genetic sequences and molecular diagrams that looked impossibly complex. Project Prometheus. It started as pure research, scientists being curious. But about 200 years ago it became something else. A question: what if humans could evolve? What if we could take the best parts of dragon biology and incorporate them into ourselves? "That's impossible," Sareth said, but her voice was uncertain. "Dragon and human biology are completely different. We're not even from the same evolutionary tree. Not naturally, no. But with viral vectors, with genetic engineering, with enough time and enough really smart people who refuse to accept impossible as an answer." Kate's smile was sharp. "We got close. Really close." The prototype was ready for testing about 3 months before the Concilium showed up. She pulled up more files, video logs of presentations that had never been given. It was supposed to be a gift. Humanity's graduation present to ourselves. The day we stopped being children learning from dragons and became something new. Partners. Equals maybe. We were going to reveal it at the Global Unity Summit, ask the Dragon Council's blessing. But the invasion came first. Yeah. And suddenly all those researchers scattered, all those labs got destroyed or occupied. Project Prometheus got buried. Kate met Sareth's eyes. Except I was one of the lead scientists, and I kept a copy of everything, including the prototype. Sareth stood slowly, understanding beginning to dawn. Kate, what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that humans don't need to stay helpless. The prototype works, at least in theory. It's a viral vector that rewrites human DNA, unlocking latent potential and incorporating dragon-derived traits. Strength, speed, energy manipulation. Not full dragon power, but enough to fight back. In theory, Sareth repeated. You've never tested it? No. Because it requires a stabilizing agent. Living dragon DNA. Your blood, specifically, to make sure the transformation doesn't kill the subject. Kate's hands were shaking. It's dangerous. Maybe 50-50 survival rate, and that's optimistic. The pain would be excruciating. But Sareth, if it works, we could give the Concilium a fight they're not expecting. And if it doesn't work, you murder whoever takes it. Yes. They stared at each other in the broken classroom, both understanding the weight of what was being discussed. Experimenting on humans with untested dragon genetics. It sounded like something from a horror story. There's another problem, Kate said quietly. The prototype needs a lot of dragon blood to stabilize properly. Not enough to kill you, but enough to weaken you significantly. And we'd need multiple samples for multiple subjects. You want to turn humans into weapons. I want to give humans a chance. Kate's voice cracked. Right now we're cattle waiting for slaughter. The Concilium is winning because we can't fight back. But if even a few dozen humans had a fraction of dragon abilities, we could start hitting them where it hurts. Sabotage their equipment. Rescue prisoners. Actually resist instead of just hiding and dying slowly. Sareth turned away, looking out at the ruined campus. The dragons left to protect humanity. If I do this, I'm changing humanity forever. Taking away their choice about what they want to be. Nobody would be forced. Only volunteers. People who understand the risks and choose anyway. Children might volunteer, Kate. Desperate people might volunteer without really understanding what they're agreeing to. I know. Kate's voice was barely a whisper. I know it's monstrous, but we're already living in a monstrous situation. At least this gives us a choice about how we face it. The argument was interrupted by a sound that made them both freeze. Footsteps. Multiple sets moving through the building above them. Concilium soldiers, their armor making distinctive clicks against the broken tile. They're early, Kate hissed. How are they early? Saretha's eyes widened. Lily's treatment. I did it last night. Talvik must have better equipment than we thought. He tracked the energy signature faster. Shouting from above. Orders being given in the Concilium's harsh language. The sound of equipment being set up, heavy things that hummed with dangerous energy. Dragon killer weapons. Talvik had brought everything he needed to end this. Kate grabbed her arm. There's no time to evacuate everyone. The other cell members, they're scattered through this building. If Talvik's team sweeps through, they'll find them all. Sareth could hear it now, the distinctive footsteps of at least 20 soldiers. Maybe more. And Talvik himself, she could feel his presence like a cold weight pressing down. He'd brought enough firepower to level the building. Get everyone to the basement, Sareth said. I'll hold them off. You can't fight that many, not with dragon killer weapons. I don't have to win. Just buy you time to escape. Kate pulled out the prototype then, a single syringe filled with silver liquid that seemed to glow in the dim light. Or you could give someone a chance to fight with you. Kate, no. It's not ready, you said so yourself. I said it needed testing. Well, we're out of time for proper trials. Kate looked toward the door where her daughter Lily slept in the next room, unaware of the danger. If we run now, Talvik will just hunt us down. If you fight alone, you die and we die anyway. This is the only option that gives us any chance at all. Who would even take it? You said it might kill them. Kate was quiet for a moment. Then Lily appeared in the doorway, awakened by the noise, looking small and scared in her oversized jacket. The girl took in the scene, her mother holding a syringe, Saretha's frightened face, the sounds of soldiers getting closer. What's happening? Lily asked. Kate looked at her daughter, and Sareth saw something break in the woman's eyes. A mother's terrible calculation. Then Lily walked forward, 8 years old and dying of a disease that would kill her in months anyway. Give it to me, Lily said quietly. Absolutely not, Sareth said. But Lily picked up the syringe before anyone could stop her. I'm dying anyway, right? Mama, you told me the truth last week. Without Saretha's treatments, I have 3 months. Maybe 4. Lily, baby, no. If this can help, if this can save Sareth and save you and save everyone, then I'm already the right choice. I'm the one with nothing to lose. She looked at Sareth with eyes too old for her face. You stayed for me. You gave up everything to keep me alive. Let me give something back. The building shook as something exploded above them. Talvik was done being patient. Lily injected herself before anyone could stop her. The screaming started immediately. Lily collapsed, her small body convulsing on the concrete floor. Kate dropped to her knees beside her daughter, trying to hold her still, but the child was thrashing with inhuman strength. Her veins lit up beneath her skin, glowing gold like liquid fire was replacing her blood. Sareth could only watch in horror as the transformation tore through the child. This was her fault. She'd stayed on Earth, drawn the Concilium's attention, and now a little girl was dying in agony because of choices Sareth had made. The building shook again. Closer this time. Talvik's soldiers were sweeping through the upper floors, methodical and patient. They knew their prey was cornered. Lily's screams rose to a pitch that shouldn't come from human lungs. Her back arched impossibly, bones cracking and reforming. Kate was crying, still trying to hold her daughter, whispering apologies and prayers to gods that probably weren't listening. Then, suddenly, silence. Lily went completely still. For one horrible heartbeat, Sareth thought the child was dead. Kate thought so too, pulling her daughter close, sobbing her name over and over. But Lily's eyes opened. They glowed with dragon fire, bright gold in the darkness. She sat up slowly, looking at her hands like she'd never seen them before. Her fingers sparked with tiny flames that didn't burn her skin. Mama? Her voice carried harmonics, layers of sound woven together. I feel strange. The door exploded inward. Talvik's assault team poured through, 12 soldiers in full combat armor with weapons designed to kill dragons. Their energy rifles charged with that distinctive whine, targeting systems locking onto Sareth. Lily stood between them and her mother. No, she said simply. What happened next was impossible to follow properly. Lily moved faster than human eyes could track, dragon speed in a child's body. She threw dragon fire from her hands in wild, uncontrolled bursts. She wasn't trained, had no idea what she was doing, but her body knew. The dragon DNA understood even if she didn't. 3 soldiers went down in the first seconds, their armor melting. 2 more got caught in a wave of force that shouldn't exist outside dragon magic. The rest fell back, confused and terrified, calling for backup in their harsh language. Then Lily stumbled, her glow flickering. The transformation was still fighting inside her, trying to stabilize, trying to decide if it was going to complete or kill her. She fell to her knees, coughing, and blood splattered on the concrete. Human red mixed with something that glowed gold. Sareth finally moved, sweeping the child into her arms and running. Kate grabbed her equipment and followed. They burst through the back of the building just as more soldiers arrived, barely making it into the tunnels that connected the university to the old maintenance systems. Behind them, Talvik himself appeared at the broken doorway. He watched them flee, made no move to follow. He'd gotten what he came for. He'd seen what they'd done, what they'd created. His scanners had recorded everything. Now he knew humanity's secret weapon, and he would prepare accordingly. The safe house was 15 miles away, a forgotten bunker from some long-ago war. Kate worked frantically for 2 weeks straight, barely sleeping, keeping Lily alive through the transformation's final stages. Sareth donated blood daily, weakening herself to stabilize the child's changes. It was touch and go. There were nights when Lily's heart stopped and Kate had to restart it. Mornings when the girl couldn't breathe because her lungs were restructuring themselves. Afternoons of fever so high it should have boiled her brain. But Lily survived. When she finally opened her eyes for real, truly awake and aware, she was different. Not just physically, though that was obvious enough. Her eyes kept that golden tint. Her movements had a fluid grace that humans didn't naturally possess. She could see energy patterns now, the electromagnetic spectrum beyond normal human vision. She was stronger too. When she accidentally grabbed a steel railing, her fingers dented it. When she got startled, small flames danced across her skin. She could feel Sareth's presence from rooms away, a warmth in her mind that told her the dragon was near. What am I now? Lily asked, staring at her hands. Something new, Sareth said gently. Not quite human anymore. Not dragon either. Something in between. Am I still dying? The disease. Kate ran the scans again, triple-checking. No. The transformation burned it out of you completely. Your immune system is enhanced, your cellular regeneration is accelerated. Lily baby, you're going to live. Really live. Word of what happened spread through the resistance networks like electricity. The story got exaggerated in the telling, became something almost mythical. A human child stood against Concilium soldiers and won. A human with dragon power saved her family and escaped the Inquisitor himself. People started asking questions. Could it be done again? Was the prototype still available? How many people could be transformed? Kate's makeshift lab became the most important location in the Resistance. She refined the formula using data from Lily's transformation, made it safer, more reliable. Not perfectly safe, nothing could be that. But better. 70% survival rate in her simulations. Maybe 75. Volunteers started showing up. Fighters from different cells, people who'd lost everything to the Concilium and wanted to hit back. People who understood they might die screaming but were willing to take that chance for a shot at fighting properly. Kate could only produce enough prototype for 30 people. 116 volunteers stepped forward. They had to choose by lottery, drawing numbers from a battered helmet. Some of the rejected volunteers cried. They wanted this badly enough to risk death and they weren't getting the chance. The 30 who won looked terrified and determined in equal measure. They ranged from 18 to 62 years old. Different backgrounds, different stories, united by one thing. They refused to live on their knees anymore. The transformations happened over 3 days. Kate administered the prototype personally, with Sareth providing stabilizing blood for each subject. They set up in an abandoned warehouse as far from civilian populations as possible in case something went catastrophically wrong. 9 people died. Their bodies couldn't handle the changes, rejected the dragon DNA, burned out from the inside. Kate documented everything with shaking hands, learning from each failure, adjusting doses for the survivors. 21 made it through. They emerged changed. Each transformation was unique, expressing differently based on the person's biology and psychology. Some could generate fire like Lily. Others had enhanced strength that let them bend steel bars. One woman could partially phase through walls, her body vibrating at frequencies that human matter couldn't match. A middle-aged teacher discovered he could sense through solid objects, reading energy patterns like Braille. None of them had full dragon power. They were fragments, pieces of what Sareth could do naturally. But they were so much more than baseline human. Sareth spent weeks training them, teaching what she could of dragon combat techniques. They were crude students, their movements rough and unrefined. But they learned fast. Humans always did. They took what she taught and adapted it, combined it with human military tactics, with street fighting, with desperation and creativity. They started hitting back. Small strikes at first. Sabotaging Concilium equipment. Rescuing prisoners from transport vehicles. One team destroyed an extraction facility, collapsing it from the inside using their new strength. Another team ambushed a patrol, moving too fast for the soldiers to track properly. The Concilium's grip on Earth, so certain and absolute just months ago, started to slip. And Talvik noticed. He watched the reports come in, analyzed the energy signatures, and understood what Kate had done. Humanity wasn't just resisting anymore. They were evolving, bootstrapping themselves into something dangerous. He sent a request to Concilium High Command, authorization for orbital bombardment. Burn the resistance strongholds from space, cauterize this infection before it spread. The response came back within hours, request denied. Earth's resources were too valuable. The extraction operations were too important to the Concilium's war effort. Talvik had 6 months to pacify the planet through conventional means, or he'd be replaced with someone who could. So he changed tactics. If he couldn't burn them out, he'd draw them out. He started targeting cities, not military targets. Civilians. Innocents who had nothing to do with the resistance. Public executions broadcast on every screen. Entire neighborhoods leveled as examples. It was terrorism, pure and calculated. And it worked exactly as he planned. The transformed humans couldn't stand by and watch innocents die. Their new power came with responsibility they couldn't ignore. Every time Talvik set up an execution, they came. Every time he threatened civilians, they showed up to fight. And every time they fought, Talvik learned more about their abilities, their limits, their weaknesses. He was studying them the same way humanity had once studied dragons, building a strategy to end them all. The breakthrough came from the most unexpected source. A Concilium communications officer named Varix got caught in a raid, separated from his unit during a firefight in the ruins of Chicago. The transformed humans captured him alive, dragged him to a safe house, and Kate spent 3 days extracting every piece of information his neural implants contained. What they found changed everything. Earth was never about the dragons. Not really. The Concilium's intelligence network had been monitoring humanity for decades, watching as human technology advanced at an alarming rate. 50 years ago, Earth had been primitive by galactic standards. 20 years ago they'd become interesting. 10 years ago they'd become concerning. The projections showed that within another generation, maybe two, humanity would hit a technological singularity. They'd surpass concilium technology, become a competitive threat to galactic dominance. That couldn't be allowed. So the concilium planned an invasion, waited for the perfect opportunity. The dragon exodus was a gift. A convenient excuse to invade without looking like aggressors. They'd never cared about dragon power. They cared about crushing humanity before humans became uncrushable. They were afraid of us, Kate said, staring at the data. Before we even transformed, before Project Prometheus, they were already terrified of what we might become. The resistance leaders gathered in the bunker, representatives from cells across 3 continents connected through jury-rigged quantum communicators. They argued for hours about what to do with this information. Some wanted to broadcast it, let everyone know the truth. Others worried it wouldn't matter, that knowing why they were enslaved didn't change the fact of their chains. Kate made a different proposal. We give them Project Prometheus. Everyone. The whole world. Release the formula publicly, let any human who wants it take the transformation. The room exploded with arguments. It was too dangerous. The survival rate wasn't high enough. They'd be creating chaos. Some people would abuse the power. Children might take it without understanding the risks. And all of those concerns are valid, Kate said over the noise. But right now, 15 million humans could transform successfully based on my projections. That's 15 million people who could fight back. Even accounting for casualties and failures, we're talking about creating an army overnight. An army we can't control, someone pointed out. Since when has humanity ever been controllable? Kate shot back. We're messy and chaotic and we make terrible decisions half the time. But we're also stubborn and creative and we refuse to stay down. Give people the choice. Trust them to make it. The vote was close but it passed. They broadcast everything. The truth about the invasion, the reason for the concilium's fear, and the complete formula for Project Prometheus. Kate didn't keep any secrets, didn't hold anything back. She gave humanity the tools and let them decide what to do with it. The response was overwhelming. Millions of people downloaded the formula in the first day. Underground labs sprang up everywhere, people synthesizing the prototype using Kate's exact specifications. Some governments tried to regulate it, control distribution, but there was no putting this genie back in the bottle. Not everyone chose to transform. Plenty of people looked at the 70% survival rate and decided those odds weren't worth it. Others had moral objections, felt that changing human biology was wrong. Some were just scared and nobody blamed them for that. But enough people took the leap. Over 3 months, roughly 15 million humans transformed successfully. Another 6 million died in the attempt, and the world mourned them as the first casualties of humanity's evolution. The transformed humans weren't uniform. Every single transformation expressed differently, creating a bewildering variety of abilities and traits. Some could manipulate fire. Others had enhanced senses or strength or speed. A few developed stranger abilities like the woman in Berlin who could see 30 seconds into the future, or the teenager in Tokyo who could make his voice carry for miles. They were humanity amplified, chaotic and brilliant and terrifying all at once. The concilium's response was predictable. Battlefleet Omega dropped out of hyperspace with enough firepower to crack the planet's crust. 200 warships in perfect formation, dreadnoughts that could level continents. Talvik himself delivered the ultimatum from the flagship. Surrender the transformed humans for processing, or face total extinction. Earth had 48 hours. The transformed humans weren't trained soldiers. They were teachers and mechanics and artists and farmers who'd gained superhuman abilities 3 months ago. They were disorganized, scattered across the globe with no unified command structure. Against Battlefleet Omega's military precision, they should have been annihilated. But Sareth wasn't ready to let that happen. She stood in the bunker with Lily, now more like a daughter than a patient, and made a decision that went against every dragon law. She would call the Exodus fleet. Break the silence that had lasted almost 2 years. Burn through her own life force to make her voice reach across the void between galaxies. They'll kill you, Lily said quietly. Kate explained it to me. Using that much power you'll burn out. Probably, Sareth agreed. Then don't. We'll find another way. We always do. There is no other way, little one. Not against those odds. Sareth touched the girl's face gently. You've grown so much. When I first met you, you were just a scared child. Look at you now. Lily's eyes filled with tears. You can't leave. You promised. I promised to keep you alive. I did that. You're going to live a long, full life, Lily. You're going to see things I can't even imagine. And maybe, when you're very old and you tell your grandchildren stories, you'll remember the dragon who stayed. Before Lily could argue further, Sereth stepped outside. She assumed her true form for the first time in almost 2 years, bronze scales catching the moonlight, wings spreading wide enough to cast shadows over the entire compound. She looked magnificent and ancient and utterly herself. Then she opened her throat and sang. Dragon song, powered by her life force, reaching across impossible distances. She told the Exodus fleet everything. What humanity had done, what they were becoming, why they deserved a chance. She told them about Lily, about Kate, about 15 million humans who'd chosen to evolve rather than surrender. She told them that humanity was ready. Not to be saved, but to stand as equals. The song lasted 7 minutes. When it ended, Sereth collapsed, her scales dimming, her breathing shallow. Lily ran to her, pressing her transformed hands against the dragon's side, trying to share her own life force back. Stay with me, Lily begged. Please. Just stay. For 36 hours nothing happened. Battlefleet Omega held position in orbit, weapons charged, waiting for Earth's answer. The transformed humans prepared for war they couldn't win. Regular humans evacuated cities, knowing that in hours they might all die. Then space tore open and the dragons returned. Not to save humanity. Not to fight their battle for them. But to fight alongside them as allies. 27 dragons folded reality and emerged into Earth's orbit. Small compared to the Concilium fleet but radiating power that made the stars themselves seem dim. Elder Mordetha's voice echoed across every communication channel, speaking directly to Talvik. You fear humanity's potential. You should. But you misunderstand what that potential means. Humanity doesn't seek to dominate. They seek to grow, to learn, to become more than they were. That is not a threat to the galaxy. That is the galaxy's hope. The battle that followed became legend. Transformed humans and dragons fought in coordination that shouldn't be possible between species who'd barely worked together before. Humans provided tactics and creativity, adapting on the fly, using their chaotic variety of abilities and unpredictable combinations. Dragons provided raw power and experience, anchoring the defense. Battlefleet Omega had numbers and technology. But they'd never faced an enemy like this. Every time they adapted to one strategy, the humans switched to something else. Every time they focused on the dragons, transformed humans hit their flanks. It was like fighting smoke that occasionally hit back with the force of hammers. The battle lasted 6 hours. Battlefleet Omega retreated, their formation broken, 17 ships destroyed and 40 more too damaged to fight. It wasn't a total victory, but it was enough. The Concilium fleet jumped to hyperspace and didn't come back. Earth had won its freedom, not through dragon power alone, but through what humanity and dragons could accomplish together. Sereth lay dying in the bunker, her life force spent. Kate worked frantically, trying everything she could, but dragon biology was beyond even her expertise. Lily sat beside the dragon, holding her scaled hand, crying softly. I don't want you to go, Lily whispered. I know, little one. Then Lily did something either brilliant or insane. She cut her palm and pressed it to Sereth's mouth, letting her transformed blood flow between them. Human DNA rewritten with dragon traits, flowing back into a dragon. It shouldn't work. The biology was all wrong. But Lily's blood carried something unique. A bridge between species, built from love and sacrifice and 2 years of weekly treatments that had woven their life forces together more thoroughly than either realized. Sereth's eyes opened. Her scales began to glow, not dimming but changing. Bronze shifting through colors that didn't have names, her body restructuring itself at the cellular level. She was transforming just like the humans had, becoming something unprecedented. Not fully dragon anymore. Not human either. Something in between. A hybrid, the first of a new kind. When the transformation completed, Sereth stood on legs that felt familiar but different. Her wings had changed, more bat-like now, more flexible. Her scales had thinned, become more like armored skin. She could feel Lily's presence in her mind more clearly than ever, a bond that went deeper than magic or biology. What am I? Sereth asked, her voice carrying new harmonics. Kate ran scans, her hands shaking with excitement. Something impossible. Dragon-human hybrid. You're stable, self-sustaining. Sereth, you're not dying anymore. You might live for thousands of years like this. Elder Mordeth arrived at the bunker 3 days later. He looked at Sereth with ancient eyes, taking in what she'd become. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then he bowed. You have transcended your nature without losing yourself. That is the hardest thing any being can do. The Dragon Council recognizes humanity as equals, ready for the greater cosmos. And we recognize you, Sereth, as the first of something new. The formal announcement came a week later. Humanity received a seat on the Galactic Council, not as clients or subjects but as partners. The Age of Dragons hadn't ended exactly, but it had changed. Now it was the Age of Dragons and humanity together, learning what they could become. Sereth stood on a hill overlooking New Seattle, her hybrid wings catching the sunset. Lily stood beside her, 9 years old now and still growing into her power. Both of them forever changed. Both of them exactly where they chose to be. What happens now? Lily asked. Sereth smiled. Now we see what tomorrow brings. Together.